Welcome to Winning at Work, the only podcast food and beverage professionals listen to. I'd love for you to take the 5-episode challenge. Pick any 5 episodes. I've got tons of great content, great brands, fantastic leadership out there. Did you learn something from those food and beverage executives? Do you think you could take it and apply it to your work? If so, subscribe. Then you can join me on my mission to discover how these totally awesome brands are being managed. What has made them different, better, and special? What are the strategies that they're using? We're going to dig into retail, food service, perhaps distribution or R&D and innovation, sometimes fundraising, e-commerce, and my area of expertise, hiring. Come with me deep into the world of food and beverages, and let's discover together how these companies and these brands and executives are winning at work. Hey, I'm Tony Moore, the leader of Temple Search. We're a national food and beverage search firm. When you need to hire a food and beverage expert for your business, do not post a job description. You need to talk to us about our different, better, and special recruiting system. I guarantee you'll get the results and the highest caliber professionals you need for your business. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Winning at Work. This is Tony Moore, and today I have Kevin Scott. I've got our beverage expert with us. Kevin, how are you, sir?
Tony, I'm great. It's Friday, and I'm glad to be here. This is going to be a good one.
It's a great day here in the South as we have our spring. Of course, our guest, Aaron Hinde, is in California. The weather is always beautiful over there, Aaron.
You know, we got some good rain last night, but the sun's out today. So that's how I like it. Rain at night, sun in the day.
Well, you need rain out in California. Aaron, we're so excited that you're here because functional beverages, they're all over the shelves. People, consumers want better. They just don't want to drink empty calories. They now know they can go to really, really cool beverages for different reasons. And I got to say, big shout out. Got the care package, and let's open that thing up. This is fantastic. I got to say, so Kevin, you missed out on the sample pack.
I did.
We'll get one over, Kevin.
Perfect.
Well, so Aaron is the CEO of LIFEAID, and these functional beverages, they've got several different lines. And the Fit Aid I found had the best flavor to me. I really resonated with that and all the different flavors. We got back from a long bike ride. My buddies, I just gave them all to everybody. They loved them. So it's definitely one of those kind of recovery drinks. So tell us a little bit more about the brand. This has been about a 10, 11-year journey for you. So just kind of take us back through your origin story here, Aaron.
Yeah, we're, as people like to say, a 10-year overnight success, right? My business partner and I, Orion, neither of us had any beverage experience. I was a sports chiropractor here in Santa Cruz. He was a certified financial planner. And if you rewind, 11 years ago, you think about, where beverage was at then. You had obviously CSDs that had been around, carbonated soft drinks, for 100 years. Nobody's drinking those for their health benefits, right? You had energy drinks, the big three at the time, that were just completely crushing. Very effective. That was kind of the first real functional beverage, right? Dosed with caffeine and taurine and that kind of thing. But again, nobody's drinking them for their health benefits. So they're drinking them for effect. And then you had an emerging health category of kombucha, GT Daves, and Vita Coco, coconut water, just hitting the scene really, right? And those had a perceived health benefit. Obviously kombucha for gut health, coconut water for hydration. But they were very hippy dippy, very much an acquired flavor profile, very polarizing. And, being a sports chiropractor and having a lot of professional athletes coming into my office, collegiate athletes, and I'd see them drinking the energy drinks. I'm like, man, you got to get off that crap. Like, you can't be overstimulating your body constantly. They said, look, I drink a lot of water. What would you have me drink? and they weren't really into, you know, the kind of polarizing flavor profiles of some of the new emerging brands. So I'd be giving them like home concoctions to make.
Oh, that's how it started, huh?
You know,
so
some,
you just were experimenting,
lemon juice and some, Himalayan sea salt and that kind of thing. And my business partner and I saw a real gap in the market. You know, we wanted to take the cool, sexy, hip lifestyle branding that the energy drinks had done so well, and some of the health benefits of the emerging health drinks, and marry them, and have our cake and eat it too. And that's where really LIFEAID came from. We're the very first function forward brand out there. If you recall, 11 years ago, it was like a brand would have basically, if it was an energy drink, they'd have their energy drink formula, and then they'd have, 15 flavors of that, right? We were the first brand to really look at it from a function perspective. Like, what is the intended use occasion? And let's create a specific blend for that use occasion. And that's why each of our blends is very distinct, very different. We really got our initial traction when we started going very deep with FitAid, which is our very clean post-workout recovery drink.
Mm-hmm. That's what we're both having now.
Yeah, exactly. We're in Santa Cruz. CrossFit's from Santa Cruz. We partnered with CrossFit very early on, and that's where we started getting a lot of traction when we started selling, direct to gyms with FitAid and direct to consumer. So we didn't have any retail presence whatsoever for the first 6 years, almost 6 years of our company. We were only online at a time, before it was kind of the cool thing to do.
So you didn't start retail. You went right into the niche.
Sometimes I wish we never would have went retail.
Yeah, well, Kevin can probably speak to that. The headaches of retail.
Nightmares.
Yeah. So wait a minute. So I didn't realize CrossFit started right there. Is it started right there? Or have you done CrossFit?
Yeah, Greg, right here in Santa Cruz. I remember as a kid, I was like, 19 or 20 at the time. And I had memberships to, all of the local gyms because it was inexpensive to do so. And, I was single, so there was different girls at each gym. And I would see, Greg Glassman, the founder of CrossFit, at one gym running like this kind of group class, hogging equipment, running people in and out of the gym and back on the equipment. And he would get kicked out. The owner would be like, "What are you doing? You can't do this inside the gym," and kick him out of that gym. And then I'd see him show up at a different gym. He'd go from like Gold's over to 24-hour over to World Gym, and it was pretty funny. So, but then he ended up starting his own gig, and look what it's become now.
Yeah, that's a total side note, but I hit CrossFit really hard for like 6 to 9 months. Got in the absolute best shape of my life, but man, it's rough. I mean, if you're competitive, the people in those boxes, man, they will push you. So I could see where something like this would really go over well in that kind of competitive environment. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the right product at the right time. Timing is everything in life, and we just hit the timing really well with that one.
So Aaron, how did you? So think about this, because you've already kind of talked about the evolution of some beverages where they were, and everybody knows Coke and Pepsi; they're the big giants. And then in the energy space, Monster, Red Bull, they're the giants. So when you first had this idea, what were your thoughts about how am I going to penetrate the market and how am I going to compete with the big Goliaths right now?
Well, Kevin, as they say, ignorance is bliss. You can't
I love the honesty.
You can't compete. Yeah. The only way you can't compete is by niching down, right? So the more focused we can be, the more we could focus on an audience that nobody was paying attention to. And again, at the time, that was CrossFit. CrossFit was a very, new training paradigm. It wasn't paid attention to much outside of the hardcore, of the community. And people had no idea what it would become, how it would really change the face of fitness in this country. But at the time, nobody was paying attention to it. And so, the big boys were sponsoring, as they were into the X Games and motocross and the big sports, and not paying attention to these like emerging categories.
Yeah, so it's a really good space to go after, or at least really hone in your focus. How about distribution? I know you said for 6 years you had no retail presence, but as you know, one of the big challenges in this whole game is getting it from point A to point B through distribution. So where do you stand right now? Where are you when you started, and where are you right now with distributors?
Yeah, great question. When we started, we were shipping small parcel out of our Santa Cruz warehouse with 2 pallets and a little cage that we had. And, now we still have a very robust direct to consumer and direct to gym business. We've got 3 warehouses that we own internally around the United States, and we have 7 3PLs. So, we're able to get people their packages in, a couple days, as they've come to expect with Amazon. Yeah. We also distribute, through Amazon, have a robust presence on that platform. We use a combination of distributors. We've built out a DSD network on the West Coast. We have our wholesale distributors, Unify and KeHE, for the natural channel and some of the big retail chains out there. So really, our approach has always been, when we set up a new relationship with a retailer, like, what works best for you? What's the best route to market for you? And really work to make that work for whatever's best for them is how we want to approach it.
Nice.
Are the retailers, are they becoming more receptive, like the mainstream retailers, to functional beverage? Because when you walk down the aisle, it's just all the crap. A lot of the crap beverages are in there. What are you seeing in terms of trends, consumer preferences? Are the category buyers starting to wake up to this?
Yeah, great question. There's a major shift going on. So, we mentioned the big 3 in energy, and what I call energy 1.0. That was obviously Red Bull, Monster, Rockstar. And then energy 2.0 was birthed a few years back with really Bang hitting the scene, right? And Bang had this somewhat of and I call it energy 2.0 because it added really an additional layer of functionality to energy. So Bang had this kind of perceived health halo with creatine in it. It's come to light, in the last couple of weeks, breaking news that Bang doesn't have any creatine in it. So it was all total BS marketing. Like, it annoys the heck out of me with these.
How they can get away with that.
How they can get away with that. But, Energy 2.0 was birthed, I'd say, with Bang, and then carried on with the likes of, say, C4 and Celsius and Alani Nu. And where we're at right now with LIFEAID and the beverage that you're currently drinking with FitAid Energy is, I call energy 3.0, the evolution of energy. And why is it the evolution of energy? Because if you look at energy 2.0, what's the commonality between Bang and Celsius and C4 and Alani Nu and those types? They all still have a bunch of crap in them. Turn around the back of the can. I was at Spins the other day, and they said 86% of people are reading the fact panel, nutritional panel, prior to making a buying decision. That's awesome news for us, because you know what all those companies still use? Sucralose. Sucralose, aspartame, ACE-K, artificial sweeteners. We know they kill your gut microbiome. There's no question about that. And they could be a lot more harmful than that. But, we know from PubMed studies that they kill your gut microbiome. They're still using artificial dyes. They're still using marketing gimmicks like 2 servings per container when everyone knows you drink it all at once. They're still using if they're not using artificial sweeteners, there's still a lot of sugar in it. They're still putting naturally flavored on the front. What do you think when you read naturally flavored? You think it's a natural product, and it's total BS because it still has artificial sweeteners. So there's a lot of marketing gimmicks going on still with Energy 2.0, and with Energy 3.0 with FitAid Energy, where we want to be, completely transparent, use the highest quality of ingredients, none of the marketing gimmicks. Like, here's the product, here's why it's superior. And, it's really resonating so far with the public. I mean, we launched this thing last week. We did $417,000 in e-com direct to consumer sales in a 3-day launch. $417,000 for people that had never even tried the product.
That's a lot of cans. That's some good market penetration, right?
But why would they spend that kind of money on a product they'd never tried? Because over the last 11 years, we have built rapport with our community, and they know that we put out quality products. Do we always get it 100% right the first go around? Heck no. But we get the feedback. We look at things and go, oh, yeah, we can improve in that. We can improve here. And we continue to iterate until we get it right and get it perfect. And, that's what people have come to know and expect from LIFEAID.
What is it about the FitAid that is this kind of clean caffeine? I'm not a food scientist, but this label looks really clean. I mean, you got really low calories, low carbs, really low sugar, great flavor. So what's the what are you using that's really allowing this?
Well, it's from a caffeine source. So there's a couple of things on, why I call this kind of the evolution of energy. First, from caffeine. A lot of companies are putting an irresponsible amount of caffeine. There's drinks out there now that have 300, 350 milligrams of artificial caffeine. Now, most people don't know artificial caffeine, if they're not listing the caffeine source, is probably coming from urea. Artificial caffeine comes from urea. Okay. And also at that dose, we've got, and a lot of these are being consumed by kids or teenagers, and they're drinking, multiple a day. I mean, you could get heart palpitations, heart attacks. Like that gets into a dangerous level. The FDA recommends, not that I follow what the government always says, but the FDA, I think, actually gets this one right, where they say, look, the upper limit should be 400 milligrams a day for an adult. 400 milligrams. Yet, some kids, you got 15-year-olds drinking 2-3 cans of something that has 350. That's like 1,000 milligrams of caffeine they're consuming. What do you think that's going to do to your adrenal glands and your ability to get up and go naturally if you need to without having that kind of jolt? So, we use 200 milligrams of green tea leaf extract. Okay. So you get a natural antioxidant effect with the green tea. You don't get that sharp spike and crash. It's a lot more gradual. So we're using a responsible amount. We're using a natural source. The second part of it is you mentioned, the great flavor and low carb, low sugar. We're using all natural sweeteners. We don't use any sucralose, aspartame, or ASK. We never have. We never will with any of our products. It's one of our, core pillars. We'll never use artificial sweeteners in our product line. And then we have a great recovery or recharge blend with BCAAs, glutamine, arginine, omega-3 fatty acids, a full B complex. You'll notice like we'll use the methyl form of B12, which is higher bioavailability than most people's B vitamins are putting in there. We use individual BCAAs instead of grouped together. So there's no artificial preservatives that are put in there. So there's all these like little nuances that if you're really into nutrition, if you geek out on it, you can look at the back of a LIFEAID can and go, wow, they really thought that one out.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good that, you talked about ignorance is bliss, but, the reality is you definitely understand functionality. You've definitely figured out, hey, there's a niche here. We're going to go zero in on it. And I think that's great. I think what I'm interested in, as you and your partner built this brand out, what are some of the challenges that you ran up against, and who did you go to for advice, and how'd you work your way through it? Because as you know, with a beverage startup, there's a lot of paths to go and a lot of things coming at you very, very fast. So how'd you kind of navigate through that?
Yeah, we've got some, great advisors that have helped us out over the years. Some of the biggest help we got in the early days was from a good friend and still advisor of mine, Ben Altadonna, who's just an amazing marketer and direct response marketer and really understanding human psychology and why do we do the things that we do? What compels us to make buying decisions? I mean, think we started out selling beverages online, right? So we're basically selling a drink, and which is such a foreign concept. I mean, 11 years ago, all the people in the beverage industry said, you can't do that. It can't be done. You have to get liquid to lips first before someone's going to pony up, $60 on a case of drinks. Like, you guys are crazy. But we were able to do that because, we knew that if we had the right messaging and the right offer and we really stood by our product and the right use occasion, that people would resonate with that. So aligning with the right advisors, was huge. Some of the biggest challenges in the early days of and this is really general for any entrepreneur, is you can't afford to, hire out a full suite of employees when you get going. I mean, so you're doing everything, right? I'm pitching product, I'm doing sales, I'm taking out the trash, I'm, formulating everything. And there becomes a point when you start to get traction where things start to burst at the seams. Like, maybe you're dropping the ball with customer service or whatever it is. And you hire out of desperation, which is always the biggest mistake any entrepreneur can do, because any resume that comes across your desk that checks the boxes, they get hired. And that is a big, big no-no. Even though things are bursting at the seams, and even though you really need to fill certain positions, you have to follow the old adage of hire slow, fire fast, right? And you got to take your time, make sure that it's the right fit, the right cultural fit, the right alignment, because one bad drop, poison in the well can poison the whole thing. It's just, it's so important to make sure. And I know, being in recruiting and getting actively recruiting, executives to join a team, how important that is for you all to make sure that you're finding the right alignment, the right cultural fit.
Yeah, I would just add on to what you just said is that the lower level that you hire, yes, they're poison, but you don't want them in the organization. That's probably salary times 20% damage, by the time you add all your time and effort that you put into it. But as you get into management, senior management, and executives, you're talking 2 and 3x salary mistakes.
Yeah.
So to your point, take it slow and really understand.
Right on the team.
So, but you're mentioning though this an excellent point though. So you're bursting at the seams. When you're bursting in all these different areas, how did you guys figure out what was the most important direction to take? We've had this debate. Do you hire sales? Do you hire marketing? Do you hire who would we have this kind of? It was with John Bailey, I think.
Yeah.
There are all these debates. If when you're in sales, you want to hire sales, and you're marketing, you want to hire marketing. Yeah. So how did y'all suss out the right direction?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
That's a good question.
I'm taking you back.
Like for like, right? You always want to hire. I'm attracted to other like alpha male salespeople because that's what I am.
Exactly.
But that's not who I need. That's not where the deficiency is. So a lot of people really work to strengthen their weaknesses, and I just have learned over the years that's just not the way to do it. I will never ever be an Excel jockey. It's just not I'm not great at deep follow-up. I'm not great at being ultra organized. I'm big picture. I can sell, I can pitch, I can put people in the right direction.
Yeah, you're an idea guy, of course.
Of executors around me. So, the first hire that we made is Andy Halliday, who's still with us now, and he was kind of the adult supervision that we hired, and he's our COO, and he is a master with spreadsheets. He's very analytical. He's very methodical, and that's what, Orion and I, neither of us, that's not our skill set. So, hiring for where your blind spot or where your weakness is instead of what the kind of natural or innate tendency would be to, hire someone who's kind of a mirror of yourself.
I think it's amazing that you've hired someone and they've been with you that long. That is very challenging to keep enough runway in front of someone. I know this is not the podcast to go into that in great detail, but that is one of the most difficult challenges that companies have is how do you keep putting enough opportunities in front of people to keep your best people active and engaged? You certainly have found something. Obviously, your growth has helped.
Yeah, we've been very blessed. I mean, Andy's been with us since day one. We've got quite a large percentage of our core team have been here since the beginning. I mean, we've got a lot of our employees have been over 5 years with us. Our COO's probably been with us. Our CMO's probably been with us, 7 years now or something like that. So we've been very blessed to bring on the right people from the get-go that have really bought into the overall vision and help contribute to make that a reality.
Kevin, when you were at Coke, you guys had obviously you had money to look at new ideas and innovation. You had all this, influx of capital on the inside, right? But as an entrepreneur, when you need extra money, you're talking about dilution, right? So, how do you kind of manage trying to grow the business and not get into diluting yourself? And at the same time, you want to keep innovating. You need money, you need R&D. How do you manage all those different aspects?
Yeah, that's challenging. And, the next time around, once this has run its course, I'll be much more cognizant of that, because it is very capital intensive business. and equity's cheap when you don't have cash, right? And equity gets very expensive later on if and when it's a success. So, the more you can bootstrap, the more you can create a real business that actually spits out EBITDA and isn't just burning through, millions of dollars every year. That's the new model. And it's funny to say that's the new model because that's kind of what a business has always been about. But for some reason in CPG, we got way away from that as an industry. And it was all about top line growth at all costs, burning millions of dollars, no path to profitability. And the pendulum's fortunately swung the other direction, which just makes more sense, right?
Yeah. Do you feel like you're at a point, Aaron, where you've kind of weathered the storm, you've experimented, you figured it out, online sales, which is actually insane to get somebody to try something for $60 and it's not even in front of them. So that's a big accomplishment there. And I've looked at your website. I've seen some of the customers that you brought on board, which you've got a great list. So do you feel like you can kind of take a step back and look at, all right, we're finally getting traction. We're bringing in revenue. And what do you think is the next thing for your particular brand? What's that future look like in the next few years?
Yeah, we just launched, Fit8 Energy. So now we're able to compete head to head in the performance energy category, which we'd never been able to do before. We were compared to the performance energy category, but we didn't have a caffeine platform. So, we were always asking people to trade in their caffeine for vitamins. Now they can have both, with Fit8 Energy. So now we have the right product mix. It's really about going deep now for us, continuing to go deep. And, there's another really mistake that we made is, when we were the cute girl at the party, it was very easy to knock down ACV. And so we were going much wider, getting new accounts, new retailers coming on. And it takes a lot of work to make sure that you win. Knocking down new business is the easy part of this business. Maintaining and making sure you continue to excel and are successful in that business is a whole nother game. And so you can grow way too fast. And I think, part of it is we did grow a little too fast. And now we're looking at the business going, hey, we need to make sure that we've optimized our SKUs. We have quite a few different SKUs, different functionalities now. Some of those do really well on Amazon, but they don't belong on a retail shelf. Some of those do really well in our gyms, but don't do well anywhere else. Some of those do really well on retail shelves, and that's where they belong. So not being married to everything has to work everywhere, and being okay and understanding that certain SKUs are going to excel in certain channels, and that's totally okay. But from a retail perspective, going really deep with the retail partners that we have, getting Fit8 Energy in the set and getting our SKUs optimized and really going deep with those partners and creating a real velocity story of flywheel, because that's where you get the attention, right? I mean, it all is based on the flywheel. The more you're selling with a retailer, the more the distributor is taking notice because they're seeing the turns, the more attention you get, the more off shelf you get, the more you sell, and around and around and around it goes. I think too many businesses in CPG are just focused on more and more distribution and, without focusing on, well, what happens after we get that distribution?
Yeah. And you're experiencing it. And we did at Coke as well, but it's the retailer likes you. They love you for the first year, maybe year and a half, but then it turns into, what do you got for me next?
Yeah, exactly. And look at Coke, Coke just found that out the hard way with, Coke Energy. Like how many brands could do $200 million in sales and consider it a failure, right? But the Coke system is so massive that, they launch a product. Of course they're going to do 200 million. They have distribution everywhere. There's nowhere that Coke, it's the best distribution system in the entire world. It's better than Amazon, right? Yeah. There's nowhere it doesn't touch. So you can't pay attention just to the top line number. You have to pay attention to, well, what's the velocity story? And obviously the velocity story wasn't there for Coke Energy, and it got killed after a year or less than a year?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I never saw that brand extension. That did not make any sense to me. But you mentioned this like caffeine platform. So this really does kind of show you now that you're able to maybe create new formulations and you can now experiment and maybe offer new things to the marketplace.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, as long as we're staying within our guardrails and being true to our core values, where we're putting out the absolute best quality products at a reasonable price and never using any artificial, colors, flavors, or sweeteners, and staying tight to, our principles, then, it's open. Now, are we going to... You can also go down a rabbit hole going way too niche. You have to have an addressable market, right? And so it's got to make sense from a business perspective as well. And also, other things that we've learned is like you got to make sure your supply chain is tight and that ingredient availability, like, oh, I found this new superfood and, that's only
let's try to blend it
in the Himalayas or whatever. Well, what happens if you can't get that anymore? Like sometimes things come and go, or there's major supply chain hangups, or there's cost of goods issues that you need to be cognizant of. So there's a lot of factors that, still that float around now that, we weren't cognizant of on day one that we're very cognizant of now. It's like, okay, you got to have great products, but you also got to be able to, if you run it once, you got to be able to produce it again. If it's a big home run, people want to reorder, and you got to be able to manage your supply chain from ingredients and cans and everything. And as you guys probably know that there's a lot of challenges with supply chain right now and aluminum shortages and all that kind of thing. So there's a lot of back end logistical operational stuff that, that I've gotten trial by fire.
Yeah. So so think about this. You've gone through a lot of challenges, a lot of trials, tribulations. But when I think of your brand, and for those of you listening, you can't see it. You're already branded with your sweat outfit. You got the LIFEAID on there. I think of it as a cool brand. And you've got, I checked your website out again. You've got brand ambassadors. You've got celebrity. You've got athletes. Talk a little bit about that, because to me, that's the fun part of the business.
Yeah, it really is fun. And, outside of CrossFit, and our alignment there and growth, I would say the number 2 pillar was, early ambassadors, that came on board and supported the brand and getting our brand out to their following. That game has changed significantly now. But I'd say that, if I was giving advice to a startup, I would say only align with ambassadors that authentically love your brand, right? These pay to play deals, people can see right through them, and not to say we don't pay certain ambassadors or athletes. Of course we do, but it's came first and foremost as an organic relationship, authentic love for the brand, authentic outreach. And then like, okay, well,
they're helping, with the volume. So give them something for it. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, in the early days, it was mainly just like, product only type of deals where, you love it. Okay. Hey, you've got a big following, post for us once in a while. We'll kick you down some product. And they were stoked on that. So, that authentic alignment is super important, for growth.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've dealt with a lot of startups over the past couple of years. I've been, helping startups in the beverage industry get started. And a lot of things that they focus on is let's get an ambassador. And there are agencies that will go get them. But to your point, one day they could be advertising your product. The next day it could be chicken nuggets. The next day it could be cosmetics. It's like, it's the flavor of the day for them.
Yeah. And it's not very authentic. Yeah, exactly.
Lack of credibility.
Well, guys, as we start wrapping up, Aaron, you've given a lot of advice for entrepreneurs, and I'd like to pick your brain a little bit more. Is there anything else that is critical for someone who's in the kitchen, or maybe they're in an incubator now, they're launching? Anything practical advice that you would give a beverage startup?
Yeah, one of the greatest marketers out there is a guy named Dean Jackson, and he has a set of principles that he follows with marketing. I think that the first principle is just essential for a piece of advice, and it's choose a single target market. Choose a single target market. I mean, I sometimes will look at a deck and they'll be like, oh, the total addressable market is this. And they're like, all we need is 1% of this. And it's just such an inaccurate way to think of that. You are not Coke. You are not Pepsi. You are not Red Bull. That is not your addressable market. You know, there's no way you could have the funding to even get close to touching that.
So tighten that funnel up. Really get narrow.
Choose a single target market. The more niche, the more narrow, the better. And then don't just market to that. You have to be authentically part of that community. Why did we go to CrossFit first? Because Orion and I, my business partner and I, met in a CrossFit gym here in Santa Cruz. I used to treat, as a chiropractor, members of a CrossFit headquarters, some of the early athletes. It started in the same town we live in. You know, we were very early to that movement. People knew who we were because it wasn't very big at the time, right? So I'm not going to go into a target market that I have no clue about, because people will sniff out the inauthenticity immediately. So choose a single target market and make it a target market that you're actually immersed in.
Nice. Great advice.
It is great advice. And have maybe $5 or $10 million. Okay.
I'd say it never hurts, but it can hurt. You know, being cash strapped makes you be very disciplined.
Yeah. So sometimes if you have too much money, right, that can be a problem. Having less money really focuses you on exactly what's most important that you absolutely should be focusing on.
Absolutely. It keeps you laser focused on what's going to actually move the needle instead of just chasing every shiny object that's out there. And there's a lot of them.
And there is. Well, I just have to say, on behalf of all the listeners and Kevin and myself, Aaron, thank you for taking time out, and thanks for the samples, and just thanks for the practical advice. And I love it's just an authentic company that started and was born out of a need. You met the need, and you've kind of learned as you've gone along. And I think it's just an excellent example to the beverage world. It can be done. And we're just looking forward to more great stories out of you guys.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin, Tony. Really appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, Aaron, thank you. It's just great advice for entrepreneurs, especially if you're listening. You know, you took them through kind of A to Z and how they get there. So I got to applaud you guys for grinding it and making this thing big and cool and relative. So it's a great job to you.
And tasty.
Yeah.
That's always key.
I know some people are like function over form. I want both. I'm sorry. I'm an American.
Yeah, those days are over. You know, you got it. It's got to be pleasing to the palate. And
I agree. So
with the keto movement, we've really nailed that now. You'll have some keto sweets and different things that really nailed the flavor profile instead of that old school, chalky taste that it used to have 10 years ago. Now we've got some really pleasing flavors.
Why don't you plug your websites? How can people find you? Where are you?
Yeah, websites, LIFEAID, AID, LIFEAID Bevco, BEVCO, LIFEAIDBevco.com. Most active on our @FitAid on Instagram or TikTok. For me personally, it's just my name, Aaron Hinde, Hinde. Most active, usually Instagram or Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn.
You're everywhere. Awesome. Well, I hope everybody checks it out. This has been very informative. I've loved it. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, we try lots of different brands, and these got cleaned out pretty quick. So,
all right. Good to hear.
Well done. Well done. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care.